Welcome to the Language of Excellence podcast. I'm your host, Nick Nighbor. I want to welcome you to the show today. I'm very excited to have you on the show, whether you're watching this on video or you're listening to this on one of your podcast channels. I want to welcome you and just introduce the Language of Excellence podcast. If this is the first time that you've been on this show and just listening, the Language of Excellence is all about teaching business owners, entrepreneurs, and salespeople how to live the language of excellence. And what does that exactly mean? What that means is it's consuming the right information, taking action on that information to give you the results that you want in your life. So today we got two amazing guests on, and these two individuals, they do a very good job living daily the language of excellence. So our guests here today are Charles and Roxanne Marbes with Better Body Fitness. They're going to be sharing their story. They're going to be talking a little bit about how they serve their community, the Better Body Fitness community. And I'm excited to have them on. Charles is a health coach, so he helps individuals with not only fitness and nutrition, but also mindset. And Roxanne does the same. Charles has been in this field for 18 years. Roxanne's been doing this just under 10 years. So they got tremendous experience in this area. They're leading an amazing community of people, and I'm excited to have them on the show here today. Welcome, guys.
Hi, Nick. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thanks for having us, my friend.
Yes, I'm excited not only just to hear your story, I've heard it a couple times, but just to have you share your story with the different people that are listening to this show, because don't we all learn better through stories?
Absolutely.
We always do. I mean, we could talk features and benefits all day long, and then it's like, where's the X button on that screen? Because I'm done. So let's get started here. You guys are the owners of Better Body Fitness, but before we talk a little bit about that, I want to just get a little bit of background. So Charles, if you want to start here first, share with us your fitness journey.
Yeah, so my story, it begins kind of a long time ago, actually. I just had my 42nd birthday. I just celebrated it yesterday, actually. And my journey begins definitely quite some time ago as a youth. I was an overweight youth. So probably when I hit puberty, like 12, 13 years old, I really dealt with weight issues. My mother dealt a lot with weight issues. My brother did. My sister did. There wasn't really, there was kind of a lot of stress going on, parents between jobs and working really hard to support the family. And we were just the subject of kind of trying to figure it out on our own, just there was a lot of soda and Little Debbie's and just convenience foods, etc. Anyways, so just due to that, there was just a lot of opportunity in regards to, easily consuming things that aren't good for you, right? So yes, struggle with weight as a youth and even into my teens and into early college years, where it really changed for me, and the reason I mentioned that was, I was the kind of kid that never wanted to take his shirt off in swim class. I didn't want to mow the lawn with my shirt. I was very self-conscious about my body. I was teased a lot as a kid. Hopefully, some people can understand and relate to that, or that's my hope, is that I'm a little bit more relatable because, I did struggle a lot as a youth. And it wasn't until I was about 20 years old where my brother came home from college. He's 6 years older than me. And he had lost about 75 pounds. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like what did you do? And I was struggling with weight myself. I was probably about 50 pounds overweight at the time, put on the freshman, like 25 and then some in college. And he said, I did this program called Body for Life by Bill Phillips. And I'm like, that's amazing. And so I read this book cover to cover. And this was quite some time ago, right? I read it cover to cover. And I remember just opening it up. And the first thing I saw were just pictures of people, all these transformation pictures. I'm like, this is incredible. So I went out, like literally the next day I went out and I bought the food on the grocery list. I went out and got some of the supplements. I did not like to exercise, so I wasn't the fitness guy. Read the program, told my roommate at the time, hey, you can have all the Doritos, the nachos, the Pop-Tarts, the pizza, the Pepsi, the Mountain Dew. You can have all that stuff. I'm starting fresh. And I kind of began this journey of self-discovery that lasted for me this was like a 90-day program. I did it twice through. So I spent 6 months. Lost the weight, completely self-taught, did not like exercise. And that was really where things completely shifted for me. That's where I kind of got the iron bug, they call it, to start lifting. And so that was the very, very beginning portion of my story that happened roughly 22 years ago. And kind of from there, it evolved into eventually getting my personal trainer's license, eventually breaking out onto my own, starting a brick and mortar location, which became Better Body Fitness, to now we're online health coaches. So there's a lot there to kind of chew on. But yeah, it's been a 22-year journey for me and then some. So it's been an emotional roller coaster and quite the physical one as well. And Coach Roxanne, well, we call her Coach. My wife, Roxanne, has a very similar, very, very compelling story herself.
So were you an athlete in school, Charles?
That's a great question. So sort of. When I grew up, like when I was really young, I loved to play baseball, even basketball a little bit. Baseball was my jam. Like I love baseball big time. And I played it all the way recreationally. And I was an overweight kid, but I was like the kid that played first base that, I got winded running, but like I could hit home runs. And I was like, yeah, Chuck's going to come up. Well, at the time, people call me Chuck, right? And
Yeah.
I'm going to hit a home run. I loved baseball. I enjoyed sports, even though I was out of shape. And so funny you asked that because my freshman year in high school, I went out to be on the freshman club and they said, nobody gets cut. Cool. I was the only kid that got cut. And that wrecked me emotionally. I said I was never going to go and play sports ever again. And I really I put myself very deeply into the fine arts. I was a musician, trumpet player, very good one too. And so that was kind of my deal. So no, I did not like lifting weights. I went to the YMCA a couple times, did not like lifting weights, did not like running them. So I am like the complete 180 story of going from like, super nerdy musician band kid, overweight, no self-confidence at all, flipped around. And I mean, we can talk about it later on, how this kind of came to be to building this big fitness business we have. But yeah, I was not an athlete.
You were not. Okay. So before I get into Roxanne's story, one quick question.
Yeah.
When you made the transformation, because there's one thing about just changing some habits, and you guys talk a lot about this to your community. There's the mindset shift, and then there's like the lifestyle shift.
Yep.
So when you made this transition, can you label that transition? Was it just, all right, I'm just completely stopping how I'm living? Was it a mindset? Was it both? Like, where were you there at that time?
Yeah. No, that's a great question because I'll tell you, I'm not sure how much time we'll end up chatting about all of the major transitions and transformations in my life. Some people refer to cold turkey, and I'll tell you with my physical transformation, yes, it was incredibly mental because I remember telling myself, I was in such a position of pain, right? Like physically in pain and emotionally in pain because, just you're getting teased. You don't feel good about yourself. You don't like how you look in the mirror. Just a lot of that. And I just told myself, I am never going back. Like I'm just never going back no matter what. And that's why after I read that book and it was, make a decision, right? And there are a lot of other, like when I decided to be a personal trainer, even though I got my degree in communications, I drew a line in the sand. And then when I went out to be an independent contractor, drew a line in the sand. And there was a lot of these situations that were very for me. But that's why I mentioned just a couple minutes ago, I gave all of that old version of myself in regards to my nutrition over to my roommate. I'm like, I don't care if you throw this in the garbage or keep it. I'm done. Now, that doesn't mean that there weren't many, many, many times that I watched him eating Doritos and I was like, oh, but I knew I had to claim a stake, if you will, like make a stand for what it was that I wanted to do. Very challenging thing to do. I know that doesn't necessarily work for everybody, but I had to turn in the opposite direction and force myself to walk in the opposite direction and get some mileage underneath my feet.
Okay. So that's quite a bit of a transition then as soon as you saw that happen. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know it's not easy to share, especially the negative aspect of like not feeling good about yourself. Like it's not fun to share.
Right.
But there's so many people out there that have that history and they're waiting to make their transformation. So thank you. You sharing your story will hopefully give someone the freedom to fight for theirs.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something we tell our community a lot. We were not gifted athletes. We weren't gifted with this passion for health. It basically was thrust upon us. And I try to tell every woman that we come in contact with, if we could do it, you can do it. Like literally, we don't have any special gifts that allowed us to be like that. It was just one of those moments, like he said, it was basically turn around and just go the other way.
Okay. So Roxanne, would you like to go ahead and share yours?
Sure, I like to jump in. Yeah, so my story, and the years, I don't know that I could tell you the exact year that everything changed for me. It
Okay.
becomes a blur after so long. I want to believe it was probably now about 15 or 16 years ago. And I just, like Charles, I was miserable. I was 100 pounds overweight. I was pregnant when I was 17, had my first baby at 18, and just did nothing in regards to being healthy or trying to take that weight off after I had been pregnant. And it was just everything that I was surrounded with in the circumstances. It was fast food, it was Friday night fish fry buffets, it was alcohol. I mean, as the years, and then after I had my second and third child, I mean, none of that changed. It just kept spiraling out of control. And like Charles said with his family, the little Debbie's and the things like that that were so cheap. We were poor. I was poor. Like we didn't have anything. So of course, when you go grocery shopping, it was trying to find, the dollar box of little Debbie's and
Mhm.
the rice and just all of the stuff that was cheap and easy. And of course, when you look back, it's not like fast food was so cheap or that but somehow that's how it was justified in my mind. And there just became, I was in a relationship that was very unhealthy and very toxic, and that of course led into a lot of those behaviors. Moving on from that relationship, there was a younger girl who was in my life at 18, or she wasn't 18, I don't remember her age, and she had gone to stay with her mom for a while, and when she came back she had lost like 50 pounds. This young girl, she had to be 15 or 16 years old, and I thought, if this girl can go out and lose this weight, and here I am as an adult with three children and not lose the weight. I had a thyroid condition, and the doctors told me, oh, if you have thyroid, it's really hard to lose weight. And I just used all that as
Mhm.
fuel to stay unhealthy, still making poor choices. And when I saw her, it was like this fire was ignited in me, like, okay, if she can do it, there's no reason I can't do it. And I bought a book as well. I don't remember what the book was. I can see the cover of it in my mind. Oprah was on it and a gentleman who had helped her. And I read it. I read it cover to cover. And I remember going out for my very first walk, which was absolutely horrible. Up when you're in the country and you go for a walk around a block, you're talking about a mile each way. So it was 4 miles. When I
Mhm.
got halfway,
A country mile.
when I got halfway, I was miserable. No cell phone. Like I just thought it was going to be this, and I despised it in that moment. I learned a good lesson that day. But made it home, and I just never stopped. I went out to the store and I bought 3 pound weights that we kept up until I think our move
We
here
just gave them,
recently.
yeah, we just gave them away.
3 pound weights. And I remember sitting on the edge of my bed doing my little tricep dips with my little 3 pound weights and doing my shoulder raises. And it was so empowering. And I fell in love with fitness, and I had gotten pretty far in my journey. I had lost my 100 pounds. I had started to put a little back on, and I hired a personal trainer and worked with her for some time. And it was just incredible what I was capable of. Like she would tell me, to pick up whatever certain weights. And after a set, I'd be like, I can go heavier. I can do more. Like I loved that feeling. And one day I said to her, I said, I love this so much. I think I want to become a personal trainer as well. And she said, if you're going to talk the talk, you better walk the walk. And I remember being like, it was like she stabbed me in the heart. Like, why would you say that to me? But under the surface, I wasn't really living a healthy lifestyle. Like my nutrition, my mindset, my alcohol, like there were still things.
You lost the weight, but it was like you still hadn't shed the habits.
Yes, you asked Charles a question about, was it a lifestyle change? Was it a mind? At that point in time, for me, it had only been lifestyle, even to a
Mhm.
degree. Like my mindset still hadn't changed. Like I was a pretty miserable person. I was borderline depressed, negative, surrounded by people who, a lot of gossip. I mean, there was just so much of that. And I remember, like, I cried, I think, every day of my life for whatever reason, just being a sad person. And when Charles and I got together, there was a yoga instructor that we knew who I followed. And every time she posted something or every time we came in contact with her, she just had this bubbly, positive attitude. And I just remember, like, why can't I be like that? Or I wonder how. And one day, Charles just said to me, if you want to do that, if you want to be that, then just be it. Stop being a victim. And that was another one of those stab in the heart moments for me where I'm
Mhm.
like, yes, I can do that. And that's where we both together like started climbing out of this pit of negativity and filling our minds with, uplifting podcasts. We started going to church. That was a massive turning point in our lives. And
Mhm.
just making sure that who we were surrounding ourselves with and what we were surrounding ourselves with, what was positively influencing our journey.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Roxanne.
Yes.
Yeah,
Lots of go ahead.
well, I was just going to say the interesting part for me too is in this conversation reflecting back to when I was younger, and it wasn't like I didn't try to lose the weight when I was young. Part of it was I just didn't know how, right? Like, I mean, just I had no education at all. I had nobody to guide me, to lead me, to show me the good, right, like a systematic way to do it where I wouldn't burn out. And so, like, when I was a young kid, I was just like, well, I need to go run a mile. That's what I thought. Like, to lose weight, I had to go start running, right? So I was like, I would just get my shoes on, my tennis shoes on, be like, all right, I'm gonna see you later, mom. And I would like run as fast as I could, a couple of blocks down the road. And then I would like be and be like dying and be like, well, this is terrible. And then I'd walk home with my head, low. And I would try it again and try it again. But I just didn't know. I wanted to change. I just did not have anybody there at all in my life to guide me. I didn't have the resources. Like, I mean, in 1995, it wasn't like it is now, or even in 1990, if you will.
Mhm.
So, so part of it, I think, is having the right information. Part of it is having somebody in your life who can positively influence you, and then it also, the application of that information directed, in a very positive manner. Because it's one thing to know something, it's another to take that knowledge and actually do something with it. So I think that a lot of these stories and experiences that we've had have really shaped us as coaches, because me and her can pull all the way back from 10, 20, 30 years ago and put ourselves in the shoes of our clientele or of the people that are on the outside wanting to begin their journey at any level. I just had a consultation with an individual who wants to lose, well, we started the conversation, he wants to lose 200 pounds. And I mean, that's a significantly different conversation with an individual that wants to lose, maybe 20 pounds, or,
Right.
there's a lot of variables in place. So pulling from past experiences, like when she said, if you're going to talk the talk, walk the walk, I just feel like there's just so much power in making sure that you can draw from your own personal life journey to lead others.
And and it used to be all about diet, 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 cardio, cardio, cardio. And as we've come to learn, and our community is coming to learn, it's no longer just about the surface level, lose the weight. We've known so many people who've done that, surface level, beast mode of fitness program, lose the weight, never deal with what's going on internally, never deal with the relationship with the food, or or for whatever is buried deep down that we don't want to deal with, that's driving us to these things. And we've just come to find, like, if you don't deal with those things, it won't matter what you get your body to do. You can pretty much force your body into submission. It will never last if you don't find a way to love yourself,
Yeah.
to love the journey, to love healthy foods,
Yeah.
to work on mindset. Like, it is also interconnected. And I think that's something that's missing from from this whole
just from fitness coaching.
Yes. Like there's mindset
body
coaches. There's mindset
transformation.
coaches
Yeah.
out there, and
Mhm.
there's fitness coaches out there, but nobody's coming to meet in the middle. Nobody's coming to meet in the middle. It's crazy. You know, I will listen to a lot of people who do mindset stuff who I really respect, who themselves aren't even on a health journey. And then I'll see fitness coaches too who are, you know, they're really strong in their fitness, but then they aren't living truly that health journey themselves and the mindset journey. And it's like, how can you actually lead somebody to live this life
Yeah.
of abundance when you're missing a huge chunk of it? And I think that's something that Charles and I are bringing now to the industry that really is lacking.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I hear you talking a lot about is really the roots.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you will produce a result in your life no matter what. That there's
Right.
going to be fruit there, whether it's rotten fruit, right, or
Mhm.
amazing, just whatever the good tasting, quality fruit. Yeah, but yeah, the fruit comes from the root. That's something
Yep.
that's something my mom taught me a long time ago.
Treat the root, not the fruit.
Right.
Yeah, right, because you're
Right.
going to end up with a result no matter what. And
Right.
I think people just don't, either they don't know how or they don't want to, or kind of a combination of both, because it's super challenging. You have to stand in front of the mirror and look at the man or the woman staring back at you and be willing to go to war with the person that you are standing in front of. Not only that, but to own every single piece of yourself physically and emotionally. And that was huge for me, right? Was like, are you willing to stand in front of the mirror, and are you willing to go to war with that individual? And I mean, that may sound kind of like a little aggressive, but what I mean is, like, there are so many battles that need to be fought, at the root level in order to get the result. But we'd rather just believe, especially in fitness and nutrition, we'll just stay here for a moment, is that we can just go buy a book, do a workout, do a diet, right? And that will automatically get this result that we believe, we believe is entitled to us. And then the crazy thing about it is, you might even get the result. And then what happens after that? It's not sustainable, because it was just a one-off quick fix thing. And then you cycle back on this crazy cul-de-sac, this crazy loop back to where you were. Well, how did I get here? Well, how did I get back? How did I get back to square one?
It's like having a toothache, and you constantly, every day, you're taking the ibuprofen or the Tylenol every day so that it doesn't bother you and doesn't bother you and doesn't bother you, until one day the medicine doesn't work anymore.
Right.
And now now there's crazy havoc going on in your mouth. That's a lot of times that's what people do with fitness. They have something going on, an unhealthy body that they're living in, and they use fitness as a medicine when they aren't really treating the cause, which is the nutrition.
Yeah.
But and it's because, for whatever reason, the fitness part comes easy.
Mhm.
The nutrition part, the other 23 hours of everybody's day, is the hardest part to deal with. It's the hardest part to plan. It's the hard where we have to be our own negotiators and talk ourselves out of the things that we've always done for years and years and years, the things that are easy,
Yeah.
going out with the friends, drinking the alcohol, eating the food, hiding in the closet to eat the cookies away from our children. Like those are, we don't want to deal with those things.
Right.
We would rather beat ourselves up in the gym,
Yeah.
and then to really deal with the root cause.
Mm-hmm. And fitness, nutrition, the way you look, the way you feel, that's very vulnerable topic.
It is.
Oh yeah.
There's
It
a lot of
is.
shame. There's a lot of guilt there, which I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that being the case, most people are afraid to ask for help because they're shameful. They feel shameful about it because they haven't produced the results maybe their neighbor has, but they still don't know anyone that
Right.
has changed the route.
Oh
Right,
yeah. I mean, I
right.
think everything you just said, and we just talked about this. So every single day we talk to I should say Monday through Friday, we talk to our community, and Monday through Thursday, we go privately. We do like this, we do like 30-minute coaching calls with our clientele.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we talked about specifically today, which had great conversation, was the concept of being vulnerable.
Right.
And a lot about the guilt and the shame, right? But but we're afraid. We're human beings, men and women, and I feel like it's even more common between men to because we associate being vulnerable with weakness. I don't want to be perceived as being weak, right? And that's I don't want to be perceived as somebody told me the greatest fear of any human being, the greatest fear that we all possess as human beings, is being thought of being stupid or dumb. To be so somebody thinking I'm dumb or stupid, that is my greatest fear, right? Judgment, right? A fear of judgment. And so you get into this position where you're like, and the crazy thing about health and fitness, when it comes to like weight loss, if we're just going to stay in the weight loss conversation, is you actually physically carry this. It's not like people don't see it, right? Which is like, again, like things like drugs and alcohol, to some level, you can hide that sort of, right? But it's interesting. But even when you wear it on your body, right? It's like we still try to, because I was there. I know this feeling. It's like everybody knows that I'm wearing the double XL shirt, right? Everybody knows this.
Yep.
I still did not want to share my behaviors with anybody because you said guilt, shame, weakness, judgment, whatever. Yeah. So I think like, I don't care if it's health and fitness, if it's financial, if it's faith, if it's with relationships, any of that stuff. I'm telling you again, vulnerability is that the first person you got to be vulnerable with is yourself. Like you got to be able to get in front of that mirror and get vulnerable with yourself. And then from there, finding even just one person, right? Like now we have all of these social media platforms. I mean, there's too many to even name now, right? All of these platforms, everybody that's going to hear this and watch this, there's so many different versions of this. And the advice that Roxanne and I both give, and I mean, she can echo this, I know she will, is number one, find somebody who's man or woman or whatever, who has achieved what it is you're attempting to achieve. Find somebody who's done that. And on the flip side of that conversation, not only find somebody who's done what it is that you want to do, make sure that that person, now you say accredited, whatever, I don't take all the little letters and throw them in the garbage. I don't care. What matters to me is they're still doing it.
Right.
That to me is the powerful thing, right? A good coach of mine told me one time, he's like, pretend like the paparazzi are following you, right? Your entire life is being recorded by the paparazzi. What are these people going to see? I'm not saying you have to be perfect or whatever. We all have our issues or whatever, but like, to me, that was powerful because I'm like, okay, she has told me ad nauseum when she is looking for a coach, we're looking for coaches and mentors. I want somebody who's done what I'm looking to do, and I want somebody who lives that life. And I think that is a person or a tribe of people that if you're going to be vulnerable, you're able to insert yourself into this community or with this coach or with this person. And it's going to take time for those walls to come down. Maybe it's brick by brick by brick. Some people shatter their walls in a heartbeat. Some people, it's like a little brick by a little brick. But to be able to trust this person or this community in a position of being vulnerable is important. But you can do that because you're like, okay, we're all in this together. We're in the same boat. We're moving in the same direction, right? And I think that is so like, you'll never get where you want to go if you decide to stay stuck on an island by yourself or in a rowboat by yourself. It just, you are going to struggle.
Right.
So the principle that I'm hearing, and I was going to mention this before you even mentioned it, Charles, but it's the concept of define, learn, do.
Yeah.
Define. And if you're listening to this and you're struggling with fitness, nutrition, the define is defining what is the result that you want and get as specific as you possibly can. And then learn from someone that has done it, that is willing to teach you, and simply do what they did. Define, learn, do. And the reason a lot of people struggle is they do it backwards. Like they do all this stuff without learning the roots, without learning the fruits.
So this is how I learned it, right? Is listen, learn, live, lead. But what were the three words that you mentioned?
Define, learn, do.
And I agree with you. And I'm gonna reframe that for just a second. Define, learn, do. You can also define, do, and learn. because you can have paralysis by analysis, and you can sit there and learn and learn and learn and buy books and I just got to learn more. I got to learn more. Like I can define my goal and I can learn.
Right.
They should either, my belief is they should either be in tandem or just like, okay, I defined what I want. Now I got to find, yes, again, you have to learn a little bit, but it's an interesting concept that was shared with me is like, hey, you can switch that, or they can
You
go,
can. Yep.
you can bounce back and forth because, I mean,
And
just
especially,
living it.
and it's interesting, even on this journey, the define. So many women want to define what they want based on a weight, based on a size.
Yeah.
And it just, as you age, and even it just does, those are the things we should not be defining. We should be defining more about what we want to see in our lives as we age, the longevity. And that's a mold we're trying to break as well, because I mean, this goes so far back. I mean, we're talking about way back in the day of, and maybe it isn't, is the cardio bunnies, right? Like, you got to be skinny and you got to fit into the leotard. And if you don't weigh 120 pounds, well, then, we just had one of our members email us out of frustration, this week, because she has to go in for her health assessment. And it's based on their BMI, which is a totally ridiculous stat based on height and weight. It doesn't take into account any muscle you carry, anything like that. And it sets them up for failure. Where I think in the define, we have to get people to dig deep and not define things by surface. Don't define things by surface. Dig deep. And what do you really want 5, 10, 15 years down the road?
This is gold. Thanks for sharing with us,
I'm
guys.
a little passionate about
Yeah,
that.
and I mean, I think you can also talk. I mean, as soon as you started talking, I'm like, in our line of work, I think most people are, when they're looking to get healthy, the first thing they've been programmed for decades is a scale weight.
And you know what? It's not like we're not angry and frustrated at people. We're sad. We're sad that there's so much self-worth put on the scale. Like when someone is, we get it all the time. Someone is so sad or frustrated because the scale doesn't move. Why does it even matter? Because that is what we've been programmed to believe matters for years. Like, it has been ingrained in our minds. I mean, since I was a young child,
Right.
the scale was everything.
Yeah. And I think even just finding other ways to define what is healthy. Like, I think that the question should be, what is, and sometimes it's interesting because it's not really going to be numbers based at all. Yes, I mean, you can look at blood pressure and cholesterol and blood sugar levels, and you could go test your cardiovascular fitness and do a VO2 max test, and on and on and on it goes. And like, data is awesome. Like, I think data is awesome. And like, when I look at the scale, it's a number. But I know for a ton of people, and when I was younger, it wasn't a number. It was my self-worth. And it took me 2 decades to have a breakthrough, to look at a scale and not put all my self-worth and confidence and my perception of hard work into that. And we need to start looking at more things of like, how do you define healthy in regards to habits? How do you define healthy in regards to energy, right? Like, what are the baseline habits that build the lifestyle? Like, we have what we call here the 4S checklist. It is a green smoothie, and this is not like any plug for a protein line. Like, I'm talking like put some spinach or some kale or some chard or whatever. Like, we got that and a banana and some blueberries and some strawberries, and toss it in a blender and go. Like, to get your nutrients in. It's like nature's vitamin, right? Yeah. Your 4S checklist. It's your green smoothie. So smoothie, then steps, set a step goal. I don't care if it's 5,000, 7,000, 10. Just walk, move your body, steps. All right. Then we have our sips, defined by our water. We try to get people to drink half their body weight in ounces, ideally. And then your sweat, which is pick something up and put it down a couple times a week. Like, and if you aren't working out that day, we have other ways our clients can define what a sweat check mark. 4 check marks every day. At the end of the week, you're looking to score. A 28 is a max point score. Doesn't mean you're going to get it every week, but like, I'd rather have people scoring 20s, 22, 24, 25, 27, 28s, and never look at the scale because that championship mindset of the person who's going to put in the work, right, every day with the mindset of a champion, as somebody who is healthy, the champion mindset of being healthy, no matter what, I don't care who you are, eventually down the road, you're going to start losing, if your goal is weight loss, you're going to start losing inches in body fat anyways. You're going to start building muscle mass. You're going to feel lean and toned. You're going to be in different pair of jeans. So yeah, I just think it's crazy how we define things with just such programmed outcomes.
Right.
Body mass index. What is that even? Like, I don't.
And this girl who is, she's like, she's like, it doesn't matter that I can do push-ups on my toes.
Right.
It doesn't matter how many squats I can do. It doesn't matter that I can do burpees. It doesn't matter that I can work out with you guys for an hour on Saturday. None of it matters.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and I just thought it makes me so angry that our health insurance is based on an arbitrary number that really has no meaning, that somebody created however many years ago.
Yeah.
And that's what we're using to base our health on. Like, it's crazy. And this is why there is such a battle in the health industry, because there's so many different things that are supposed to be telling us whether we're successful or not. None of them are going to the core of, are you healthy?
Yeah.
That's it. At the end of the day, did you make healthy choices today?
Yeah. Interesting enough, Nick, for a long time, we did 28-day challenges, and the hook was lose 10 pounds in 28 days or your money back. We don't do that anymore. Like, we don't do anything around weight loss. Now, that's just going to be a positive. For some people, it's going to be a positive side effect. That's what I tell them. Like, if your goal is to
right.
Great. All right. But we do 21-day challenges. And the core of these challenges is our 4 S's. And if somebody's a little bit more advanced, we kind of move them through and coach them through that. But that's really the goal, is like, it's like a 21-day habit challenge based around how these habits are going to build a healthier life. Now, for some people, it's not sexy enough. They'd rather have you tell them it's lose 10 pounds in 21 days, but it isn't that. But in order to get something different, you have to do something different. And that's just, we're super passionate about shifting the direction of this industry in a way that does promote long-term sustainable habits that took us 2 decades, 2 decades to get to where to really, to be in our prime as leaders, to where we're living it every single day.
And it's functional fitness. It's you're living and breathing. We're all living our lives. There's some of us are required to do more if we maybe work like a labor job, if you're in office.
Right.
Yep.
Less physical demands, but functional fitness is being able to, play with the kids or the grandkids, do stuff around the house, like rake the yard, like shovel, like all these different things. Like, that's what you're talking about. You're not talking about getting chiseled like Arnold Schwarzenegger was 20 years ago.
Right.
You're talking about functional, healthy, like you're talking about being healthy.
Right. And not only, from the fitness perspective with movement, right? A functional is training movements, right? Not just we like to do bicep curls here, okay? We like to do curls, but it's not just about it's not just what our pipes look like. but yes, it's training life movement. But on the flip side of that conversation of what you just said, the person who doesn't have manual labor, the large majority of the workforce, especially we're almost out of this kind of pandemic situation here with COVID. People are working from home now more than ever. Mm-hmm. People are on technology now more than ever. People are sitting more now than ever. And that's why STEPS is the second S, because we were built and designed by our creator to move our body, to be hunters and gatherers. We were not built by our creator to sit on a rock, right, and stare at something for 12 hours a day. So for the individual that does do that has a part of their life because that's part of their job, right? Or for whatever reason, that is another reason why we approach fitness the way we do, because we know the importance of strengthening muscles and from a postural perspective that people just don't get access to now on the daily because they're sitting down. And so it's small incremental things, functional things, habit-based mindset work. It's all the little things over the time that have deteriorated into now what has become what we call beast mode health and fitness.
Right.
Like the industry is because people are more busy, so it's got to be more intense. Mm-hmm. You're naked abs in 7.5 minutes.
Give me the strictest diet you possibly have so that I can see the fastest results as fast as I can. And with no regard, both in nutrition and fitness, by going beast mode, no regard for what happens to their body the next 3 or 4 years down the road.
Yeah. Which is crazy because, like I said, then they just end up, they like start to get results, and then they think they are, but they end up down here, and then they just start looping back, and they're like, well, how did I get back here?
And the world is filled with women who have broken metabolisms, whose hormones are just jacked up, and it's from years and years and years of dieting and being on this yo-yo roller coaster, and now they believe it's the only way they can be successful, because if they don't diet, if they don't eat 1,000 calories, the scale doesn't move, and we're, our goal is to break all of those myths, all of those mindsets, and create new healthy mindsets.
Let me ask you a question. Okay. And then I love hijacking your show.
Let me ask you a question.
I don't know. Do your listeners know that you're a runner?
I think some of them might know. Yes.
Okay. Well, now they know. All right. What's the longest distance you've ever gone?
50 miles.
50 miles. Do you remember what it felt like when you were on mile 25, mile 30, mile 35, and mile 40?
Of course.
Here. Of course, right. And it didn't feel awesome, did it?
No.
Right. Physically, you felt like you probably wanted to die and give up, and you're just like, I would give anything to just peel off here and stop. The reason I asked that question, the reason I bring it up is I feel as if we have been trained and educated in the health and fitness field to be like, to make it okay for people to say, I'm going to sign up for a 50-mile race, AKA I have a big goal ahead of me. Some people's big goal is 15, 20 pounds or gaining muscle. Some people it is 100 pounds. I'm going to sign up for this big goal, right? Like I'm going to attack this. Mm-hmm. And then at mile 5 or 10 or 12 or whatever, it's like, well, no, I'm going to start over. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go run this other race. It's like I'm from program to program to program to program. As soon as adversity hits, as soon as we see a number we don't want to see, as soon as something doesn't go exactly the way we thought it would go, we're over here trying to do something else. And we never stuck to one coach, one program, one timeline. We weren't willing to kind of go to the pit of adversity and learn about our true character. Not just physically, though, because you and I both know physically, yes, you have to be conditioned to run 50 miles. You have to be way more mental to get through that than physical. This thing drives this thing. And that's why I'm like, tell people, I'm like, man, like you got to be in it to win it with your mind while simultaneously, right, working the habit piece. Right. And I just, it's just so sad, mad, fired up, inspired, whatever words you want to use is just bringing this to light to people and just to shatter that frame and let people understand that, like, if you keep jumping from program to program, you are going to be caught in the same loop. You'll never finish the race.
Right.
The race, you'll never finish this race that you set out to run. And it's a shame because I think some people, they just don't have that right person in their life to help them through that. As you know, any good coach or mentor that you've worked with has done the same thing for you.
Right, exactly. So if you're listening to this for the first time, you heard Charles' story, you've heard Roxanne's story, you've heard them talk about fitness, you've heard them talk about nutrition, you've heard them talk more about mindset. If you are looking to make a change and you're ready, Charles and Roxanne own a company that's online. So whether you're in California, whether you're in Florida, whether you're up in Maine, it doesn't matter where you're at. Their website is betterbodyfitness.life. They do have a 21-day challenge that's coming up here soon. You can also find them on, would you say you spend most of your time on Facebook?
Yes.
So look up, is it Better Body Fitness Boot Camp?
Boot camps, Better Body Fitness boot camps.
Better Body Fitness Boot Camp. So if you're hearing this for the first time or you're seeing this for the first time, look them up on social media, go to their website. The website's going to have more information about that 21-day challenge. What's great about what they're doing here is they're not just working on the fruits, they're working on the roots. And when you plug in, you're going to be hearing from them every single day, because you need that kind of immersion to make that kind of change. You can't just show up by yourself. Like, they want you to be part of the community. And that's the special thing that they have, is they have this amazing community of support, encouragement, accountability. Yes, I know, accountability. We don't like that, but it's needed. And that's what you get through Better Body Fitness. So if you're hearing this for the first time and you found some value, and you know someone close to you that you think there's going to find value in this, feel free to share through social media, send them an email, send a screenshot, get this message in front of them, because you listening to this message, you seeing this message, you can make an impact with what happened to Charles and Roxanne when they saw someone close to them, they made a change. That's when they made a decision. You can be that person for them. Charles and Roxanne, do you guys have anything else that you want to share with the community?
Oh, man.
Well,
Well, I feel like I think we're going to probably end up coming back here like 10 more times. But no, thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
And if there's one little last bomb I could drop, is just remember that accountability is extreme ownership over your own personal actions. Nobody can hold you accountable. You cannot hold anybody else accountable but yourself. It's ownership over your personal actions and what you choose to do or do not do today. So just make sure that you, yes, as you said, be accountable to yourself, and you can go so far.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. It was great having you guys on as guests. We really, really appreciate it. I know everyone's going to get great value out of everything that you shared. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, Nick, have a good day.